We are going to have Mike Udell from Toyota of Grand Rapids. He's the general manager of Toyota Grand Rapids. So let's give him a huge hand and welcome to the stage.
Good morning.
Thank you, Mike.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? It's been an excellent event. I was looking forward to coming, and I had my short list of things that I wanted to accomplish to take away, and I hope you do too. So my first bit of advice would be reduce this down to 2 or 3 things that you are 100% confident of and passionate about implementing when you get back. 2 or 3 things, because you can always review. The one great thing that they do at these conventions is they archive the meetings. I mean, the resources, the assets, and every presenter is an asset. And what didn't resonate today, your ability to recall in 6 months when maybe it's an employment issue, you'll go, oh yeah, let me go to the resource and let's see what that guy from Automax had to say. Maybe there was some advice that I could glean from. But I want to get started today. I'm the general manager at Toyota Grand Rapids. I get to kick off the dealer presentation part of this. I've been in the automobile business for 37 years, but I have one reason, I have one passion and one drive that keeps me going, and her name is Jackie. And when Jackie and I met, it'll be 14 years ago, she came in to get her daughter a car for college. Who has that story? Or one close to it. She came to get her daughter a car from college, and her youngest was going to college. I had custody of my 3 kids, and my daughter was going off back to Georgia, go to Georgia State. So we were going to look at, both of us were going to be empty nesters. And so I said, you know, maybe you and I can go to lunch. She says, you know what? She said, the only time I wish I had a man is when I got to cut my lawn. She says, I'm just not there, don't date. I'm happy, right? She was happy. She's a professional she's an educator and does a lot of outreach work. And so I asked her 8 times. Asked her to go out 8 times. Turned me down 8 times. All a true story. But just like that, our favorite book, what is it, Green Eggs and Ham, Persistence Breaks Down Resistance. And I was in Baltimore at a 20 group meeting and got rained out, went to a baseball game and got rained out, went back to the hotel, too early to go to bed, too late to go out, right? It was one of those. So I thought, well, I'll give Jackie a call. She gets this strange caller ID, answers the phone, says, who is this? I said, is that how you answer the phone? Is that polite? She says, she says, Mike. And I said, yeah. She said, where are you calling me from? I said, Baltimore. She says, I love Baltimore. Icebreaker, right? She said, well, why are you calling me? And I said, well, I have a confession. She says, what's that? I said, well, I want to confess that I give up. You've convinced me that you don't date. But I do know you eat. So meet me at El Centro Restaurant, 51st and Main in Kansas City at 7 o'clock. Drive your own car. Bring your own method of payment if you so desire. I'll see you then. Click. Well, the reason I picked that restaurant, it was 2 blocks uphill from where I lived in the middle of Kansas City. So if I was rejected, the lonely walk home would only be 2 blocks downhill. I figured I couldn't lose. But she showed up. That was it, right? And the one thing she did tell me is, honey, you can make as much money as you want. Work as hard as you can. Give it all to Kitten, and it'll be a really good deal for you. Now, any women in here disagree with that philosophy? Any women think that's a bad deal? And you know, it's been a great deal. Been a great deal for me. So we all have our motivators. We all have our passions. Let me tell you a couple of stories about some doctors, and I'm risking building the porch a little bigger than the house today, but I want to try to give you a few analogies to help you change your thinking. Number 1, what are you passionate about? What drives you? And it's different for everybody in this room. Number 2, I want to tell you about a couple of doctors. There was a Midwestern doctor, and a lot of doctors end up taking over hospitals. And you know, there's such a transition in our medical and our healthcare system that a lot of them are facing budget issues, different considerations that are out of their normal wheelhouse of medical practice. Well, this Midwestern doctor knows he's going to Japan to a doctor's convention to do whatever doctors do when they go to conventions and learn things. But he had a dilemma. He had to expand the hospital's ability for outpatient care, surgery, urgent care, not emergency care, but he had a finite budget and couldn't afford the additional brick and mortar, but he just knew in his heart of hearts there has got to be a way to dispense more care with the assets and the resources that I have available to me right now. So he looked up a foremost architect in Japan. And he contacted me. He said, I'm going to be traveling to Japan for a medical conclave or whatever they call them. And I would like to see you, but I want to send blueprints of our facility and see if you can see something that I'm missing. So he goes to his convention. He meets with this well-known architect in Japan. And by the way, the Japanese are incredible about space efficiency, aren't they? I mean, if you've ever been to that country, they're incredible at optimization of space. And he's looking at every floor of the hospital, and he says, you know, there's something really odd about this. If you want to increase your customer or your patient care, if you want to increase the speed by which you dispense that care, why do you have all these waiting rooms? They don't generate any revenue. If you're going to be more efficient in your processes, let's convert some waiting rooms to dispensaries of care. Clever way of looking outside the box, isn't it? So that's a great reason to come to meetings like this, because I know everybody had one or two ahas. And for the last 2 days, everybody's been flying at 10,000 feet. Hopefully, from a dealer's perspective, I can bring some of this back down to earth, okay, and show you that it really does work if you're passionate and you're looking at things the right way. Another doctor, Dr. Kleinstein, he was a head of psychiatry for UCLA University, and they made him the head of UCLA Medical Center. Now, as the head of UCLA Medical Center, he found out I'm dealing with budgets as well. And in dealing with budgets, they couldn't afford enough Band-Aids and bedpans. I mean, think about that. UCLA Medical Center, that was rated a number 3 hospital in America when he took over, didn't have budget for enough Band-Aids or bedpans. That's a problem. Well, they were rated that because if you had a heart attack, you know, it was like a 98.2% chance you would get out of the hospital alive. So that's how they rated, you know, as far as quality of care. But the place is a managerial disaster. And so he took a look at this, and he started talking to patients. And he started listening to what the patients had to say. And he came to a simple conclusion. It's another waiting room aha moment. He said to the staff, the medical physicians, the PAs, the nurses that dispense the care, he said, I think the waiting room is for you to wait for the patient to show up. Aha. Now, you never thought about that, did you? You know, when you're sick or God forbid, you broke an arm and you run to the hospital, you're not worried about whether it's comfortable or convenient. You need help, right? But think about that for a minute. Get away from the crisis that you're in for a moment, and how much sense does that make? Does that make sense? Hopefully I've got your attention. If you change your thinking, you change your life. Now, here's the beautiful thing about changing your thinking. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. In fact, there's 3 things I never want to be: the smartest, richest, and best-looking guy in the room, and so far I'm batting 1,000. Okay? But I never want to be that guy. But the guy I want to be is the guy that never misses the obvious, that never misses the common sense approach, that never loses that degree of humility where I can say, you know, I didn't get that right. I can do better. There's got to be a better way. Sometimes it's just that gut thing that says, this is not fitting, it's not lining up. And so I'm here to tell you this morning, after 2 days of death by PowerPoint, right? And a lot of conversation and information overload. I'm here to tell you today that if you change your thinking, you can change your life, but you can change it based on the knowledge base you currently have. You don't need to read another book if you've accomplished any level of success at all. Sometimes we just got to say to ourselves, man, I'm looking at the wrong end of the donkey here. Right? Well, I'm listening to some of the people, and I hear in the pitch and tone, you know, some frustration. Well, let me make a submit. Now, I'm going to spend a lot of time Toyota specific. Is that okay? After all, it's what I do. So for the faithful that are here from Toyota, welcome. Hope you leave with something you can use. For everybody else, Transferable skills. Is that a fair agreement? So let's start there. So one of the things that, how do we get this back up front here? There we go. Manage the right showroom. What does that mean? I don't think I'm going to leave here believing, and after the first couple hours when I got here, just listening to the words that folks have chosen to speak, those words are powerful, okay? I don't think the meeting has been near radical enough. We're not even close. This is a virtual world. I manage a virtual showroom. This is the hardest challenge this is for the visionaries, for the dealers in this industry. For them to wrap their mind around is because we pull up to this building every day, and the manufacturers are now making sure, some of the dealers, raise your hands, have you ever seen a time where they're spending more time forcing us to spend more money on our facilities to have them work a certain way? And that's the focal point, especially if your name's on the sign. It's your identity. It's where everything happens. It's the focal point. But I'm telling you right now, and if I'm wrong, I'm not wrong in 2 or 3 years. The virtual showroom is the place of engagement. The brick and mortar is only now a place of fulfillment, ownership experience, and retention. You are fulfilling at the place that you see everything you promised virtually. So where should you live? What should your focus be? Where should your engagement start? If your sales process doesn't begin until it's a showroom event in the CRM, you're too late, I'm eating your lunch. And that's okay. I love my competition around me. I love them. And for all of you that say, man, we can't make any money on these cars. We got the guy up the street. You know what? I tell my people all the time, I'm not running their business. I am running this one. And in 2010, okay, when the dealership lost X number of dollars in the new car department, and in 2012 made enough money in the new car department to effectively be a $1 million turnaround in departmental profit, net profit. Gross pays the bills. We went from 62 new Toyotas a month to over 100 a month. We'll sell 1,400 new Toyotas this year. We went from 27th, we're 27th in volume, we're 12th in profitability in the region. I'd like to say we're top 10 because 2 of those guys cheat. They got Lexus showrooms on their statement. I'd like to say we're top 10. Okay? And so how do you do that? You have to transform and change your business virtually. I manage the virtual showroom at my dealership. I live there. I manage the virtual showroom, and then I engage the people. One of my biggest problems is being late. Because walking through the showroom, walking through the service department, for me, ought to be like that ball bearing in a pinball machine. I'm banging off of people, and lights and bells are going off, and people need something. They ask a question. They need to know something. And I had to learn, well, I had to live the lessons that the most important people, Danny, are the people. The most important thing are the folks. So while I'm managing the vision of a virtual showroom, I want to take care of the folks. And just like my new inspiration, one of my new heroes, Dr. Kleinstein, don't be surprised if you see old Mike walking from the shop back through the showroom with a mop to clean up the coffee that got spilled on the floor that people were doing this around. All of that's important. People have to see that I will do whatever I ask somebody else to do. Now, why is that important? Because I can't delegate something that I don't understand. Did you hear me? Internet departments. the frustration. They don't get it. They want to cut my budget. The new GM came in. Somebody said to me the other day, well, we just don't want to be digital. You know. Well, hell, I don't understand it. Learn it. Listen, I'm 58 years old. I've been doing this for 37 years. Most of my knowledge base is based on what not to do, right, in this industry. And I probably learned more about digital marketing from an insurance company that I went to work for. I ran there. The son-in-law ran a dealer group in Peoria, Illinois. He unfortunately passed away. They realized we don't understand the car business, but we got 4 locations and 10 brands. We need a car guy. And so I became the executive vice president of Pearl Automotive Group and trying to translate between the two. But Pearl Insurance Company in Peoria, Illinois has a 3-story building, 60,000 square feet per story, full of cubicles with people that wear headsets and sit in front of desktops. And they're the 5th largest business-to-business provider of error and omission insurance, professional liability insurance in the world. If you want a Lloyd's of London policy in Canada, North America, or Puerto Rico, they refer you to Pearl Insurance Company. Nobody's ever heard of them, but they're this under-the-radar, multi-million-dollar company that figured out how to virtually network with people and turn leads into phone calls, and now you know why I love Sean. Right? What a place to learn. So I learned, so you can apply some of those things. So it's the virtual showroom. Let's keep moving along here. I'm not a PowerPoint guy. So I'm managing the virtual showroom. There's my little bio, right? I've been approved by most of the German brands, Mercedes-Benz, Volvo, or Audi, Volkswagen, Nissan. So they'll say to a dealer, yeah, you can hire this guy. We'll approve him to run your store. That's all that means, okay? Managing, now there's 3 parts to this, and I'm so glad to hear about conversions today because I tripped and stumbled my way into this about 1.5 years ago. Let me get a little bit ahead of myself. When we came there, and Sean probably doesn't remember because he deals with so many clients, right? But this was a disaster, wasn't it, digitally? Our website was a disaster. I had 5-page legal pad notes before I took over the car dealership in Michigan. Now, Toyota dealership in Michigan, just sit on that for a minute. Think about that. Let me give you a minute on that one. What the hell was I thinking? Market share for Toyota in the state of Michigan, 4%. In Detroit, less than 2%. You got to be really crazy to be a Toyota dealership in Detroit. But I'm in western Michigan with 4% market share with Toyota. And what percentage of the population would you imagine in an 800,000 metropolitan area is already predisposed through employee purchase, friends and family, supplier pricing, retiree, just to buy a domestic car? So you have to reach out and touch this market. Well, this website had no presence. None. The only thing they did is bought the recommended V-Auto package with Auto Trader with absolutely no relevant searchability to the website. And then how'd the website work when we did scope review? Broken links, pages missing. I mean, it was a mess. We had to reconstruct this. So a lot of the things that I did were very radical to get where I'm at today. So please, vendors, if you don't hear me out from beginning to end, you might think I'm your enemy. I'm not. I'm not. And if you're at where you're at, depending mostly on third-party leads, that's great. I'll help you with the frustration as well, Mr. and Mrs. Internet Directors, okay, on how you can't control the budget and you wish you could do this or that. I'm going to show you the kryptonite in building your lead generation, even if right now you're dependent on third-party leads. Is that a fair? If I accomplish that, I've done something, right? Okay, so let's keep going here. So first of all, the first thing I realized, we had to set ourselves apart. Right? This is my management team. Now the reason I do these is because we're not only a Toyota dealership in Michigan, we're in the Cincinnati region. The Cincinnati region has states like, Kentucky in it, where they build the cars, second highest market share in the country. And for the Toyota dealers and the OEM people, you know that one of the qualifications for any award or recognition is you got to be 105% market share, right? 105% of the region you used to have to be. 105% of the region to get any kind of reward or recognition. Who the heck in Michigan was getting recognized in the Cincinnati region? Plus, when it's springtime and the magnolias are blooming, we're up in Michigan shoveling snow. So these guys are off to a fresh start in the springtime in late February, March, getting all the allocation they can handle, and I'm up in snow country, lake effect snow country, right? And I'm not earning cars because I'm not selling them in the winter. Had 12 feet, 1 inch short of 12 feet of snow last year in Grand Rapids. There is seasonal adjustment. Okay? So just to paint you a picture, but we still had to set ourselves apart despite the market share, despite the challenges with the website, despite any of the challenges, we still had to fix it. Now, by the way, this is more of manscaping than photoshopping, right? I mean, you can tell, right? Let me get closer. Okay. Now, oh, by the way, more website visits than any other dealership in Michigan. We have more visits. Everybody says visitors. Vendors, I'm a little bit antithetical here, okay? I'm a quirky kind of guy. I'm old school. I like visits more than visitors because I love be-backs. Right? And so when I talk about visits, yes, I got visitors, but there's a wider gap between my visits and visitors than yours because I get more be-backs. How about that? I love be-backs. So we have more visits. Now, by the way, we have 6,000 more visits than the number 2 guy in Lansing, Michigan, in a state capital where the university is, and those are usually the most wired cities in the country, right? So we're doing pretty well 3.5 years later. More clicks, more sales, period. My life is simple. Like I said, I made the top half of my graduating class possible. Okay? Nobody will knock you over to pin magna cum laude on me. But you know what that does? It liberates me to embrace the obvious. I don't have to be an intellectual. I can keep my life really simple. So we want more clicks. More clicks or more sales. Yes, we want to own the page. Yes, we want paid search. Yes, we want to be organically searched. Yes, we want our map. Yes, we do little things like, what is your Google? Wait a minute. How many coordinators are getting overwhelmed with service calls? Has anybody ever studied their call volume to find out what percentage of calls coming in are service calls? Now remember, here's a dealership. When I took over, sold 62 new Toyotas a month, but we now service 3,600 Toyotas a month. 3,600. Where's the call volume? What phone number ought to be on my Google page? Hello? I'd rather have my service receptionist transfer 8% of my calls volume to the internet department than the internet department transfer 80-some% of the calls back to the virtual team. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? There's a quick fix for you. Study your call volume and where it's going to. Over 87% of our total call volume no longer hits the switchboard. It goes to 2 departments where I can track it. The internet department and the service appointment setters. I have 3 service appointment setters. Okay? So more clicks, it's real simple. It's a simple formula, right? 90% of our traffic is organic and direct click. 90%. I do not buy third-party leads. Bear with me, no rocks or eggs, okay? I just don't buy them. Now, does that mean I won't come to a day where I can? Here's another issue. Think about Michigan. You got to know where you live, right? In Michigan, if it's only 4% market share, how many leads can I buy? Don't confuse, factory people, you can tune into this too. Don't confuse leads for buyer intention. Toyota appears on everybody's short list that intends to buy a car in the next 9 months almost 70% of the time. 70% of the people out there that say, I'm going to buy a car in the next 9 months, have a Toyota model on their list. So don't I want to reach those people too? Isn't that why I want to build an organic presence? Even if they're predisposed, you know what I found out? And oh, by the way, I didn't go after when I took over the dealership. I didn't build our volume. We didn't double the volume by going after Camry, RAV4, Corolla. We went after the niche stuff. I got UAW members coming in, retirees saying, well, we don't have a Prius, so, it's illegal for me to buy this car. I'm 1.2% of the region's allocation of Toyotas. I'm 2.3% of their Prius. When the new Camry came out, the Camry Hybrid, okay, because of my Prius sales combined with my Camry sale, I'm sorry, that's Avalon, I'm getting confused. But we built our Camry in the first 6 months because nobody liked the old Camry Hybrid. Maybe you did in Boston or in the East Coast. But in the Midwest, nobody saw the value in the old body style Camry Hybrid because it didn't get much better mileage for all the money you paid than the four-cylinder. Well, the new Camry they came out with in 11, that hybrid was much better. And within 60, 90 days, we were 3.5% of the region's Camry hybrid sales. Okay, the crazy picture? I took every FJ that was turned down. They didn't want FJs, right? But I sure like them in Michigan. Huh? It's pretty good, right? I geo-target FJ sales in northern Michigan. That's obvious, right? Where there's a lot of snow, a lot of recreation. Okay. So, now remember, Toyota's only, I said 3% market share, it's actually 4%. Toyota Grand Rapids, our sales efficiency now by building on niche products, I'm 260% sales efficient. What does that mean? Why is that important to you guys? It's important because I'm earning more of my share. I'm 260%. So in other words, Toyota said in your primary market area you should sell 100 in a month. I'm selling 260. Does that make sense? I'm not selling that many, but just as an example. Elms, yes. I do it defensively because the other 3 dealers in my statistical market area, they passed on the Elms leads. Yes, 3 times the national. We'll get to that. I owe you $5, but you were a little early. Okay? Easy. Okay? Now, we have 68.7% service retention. When I took over the dealership and I studied the customers and service, 52% of the people that service their cars at Toyota Grand Rapids, 52% did not buy from us. 52%. They would come in the showroom. I'd introduce myself because I love to talk to the folks. And I introduced myself, said, Mike Udell, they let me run the joint. Right? People love that. Let me run the joint. How are you? Great. So what can we help you with? Are you thinking about a new camera? Well, I'm in service, but I would never buy from here. Isn't that something? So our goal is 70% service retention. Our sales retention is 47.8%. Our goal is 50%. Okay? However, when we get more involved in this with the geo-targeted area I'm conquesting, I have created a dilemma for myself. But let's just keep moving here. Okay, the proofs in performance. Here's the Cincinnati region national. See, you weren't that early. You were 1 slide away. Total visits in the month of July. We had 17,452 site visits. The average Toyota dealership in the Cincinnati region has 6,979. National has 8,886. Now, once again, I recognize that digital is the cheapest form of advertising with the highest return on investment, and I have got to get those intenders over the long haul to say, yeah, it's okay for me to buy a Toyota in Michigan. Right? So I need massive traffic. In my mind, that's what I need. We can get caught up in the minutia if you want, but that's just what I'm trying to drive. More traffic, more traffic. Okay? My average time on site, 9 minutes 36 seconds. The region, 4 minutes 47 seconds. National, 4 minutes 34 seconds. Bounce rates, 27%. How do we do that? Why is that important? You want your website. You know, websites are like flypaper. Right? You don't like to look at them every day, but boy, it's fun to see all them flies sticking to them, isn't it? Right? Oh, can I give you your second tip? By the way, I am horrible. I'm the poster child for ADHD. I am the poster child. I was so excited when I found that out. I was 50 years old and discovered Adderall. It's a freaking awesome deal, okay? It's awesome. Changed my life. But my wife has a master's in education mostly, and then another master's in early childhood development, which makes her uniquely qualified to be married to me, right? Okay? She would say for years, hey, Udell, you know, if she wants my attention, it's the last name, right? Hey, Udell, there's medicine for what you got. And she kept saying that and saying that. She kept poking the bear. Finally, I go and see this psychiatrist, and they do the evaluation. It's about an hour and 45 minutes. An hour and 20 minutes into it, she says, would you like to know how you did? And I said, sure. She says, well, on the attention deficit side of the equation, she said there's 9 key indicators. And depending on the acuity or the number of those that you happen to demonstrate, we're going to diagnose you as attention deficit disorder. On the hyperactivity disorder side of the page, there's 9 key indicators. And depending on the acuity and the number of them that you possess, we're going to diagnose you with hyperactivity disorder. Mike, do you have any idea what your score is? I said, no. She says, you're 18. I said, I'm the frickin' poster boy. I wish I had a billboard company. Right? It's me. Adderall, it'll change your life. Okay? Page views, 4.8, 5.52, national 5.31. That is a tricky number because I want them to get to where they're supposed to go in 2 clicks. One of the requirements I have for DOM, Dealer Online Marketing, is get me there in 2 clicks. Get me where they want to go. Okay? But the page views are important. By the way, do you scroll to the bottom of your leads and look at your page views? When you open up a lead in your ILM, do you scroll to the bottom of the lead and look at all of those live links that are categorized down there? Here's another obvious one. Hey, did I give you that second tip? I'm going to remember it. Okay? But I'm back. Okay. Conversion rate. This is form submitted only. Form submitted. Conversion rate. I'm 3.9%. The region's 1.8. National 1.95. Boston, pretty wired market. Is that pretty consistent with you guys' numbers? The national and the regional. You're in that ballpark. So we've done pretty good. Come a long way from being invisible 3 years ago, right? Okay. Now, this is my friend Dave Kaya. Here's your third bit of advice. I owe you the second one. Third bit of advice, I will stay on point. Okay? Great relationships with your factory people. Dave Kaya is the digital marketing manager. They will tell you, and I was so embarrassed yesterday when Remora was up, because they're telling me, man, you got the darling website of the region. And then this guy shows me my speed, and I'm like, I got a long way to go. But Dave Kay is the digital marketing manager. I collaborate with him. Let me give you a little advice, those of you that aspire to move up the food chain in the car business. You know that DSPM, that sales rep, that field person that wants to get a staff position, and they want to go from a staff position to an executive level position in the region? Let me tell you something. In the 37 years, it's amazed me the number of dealers that think it's a sporting event to be adversarial with the factory. And now there wasn't a day too many years ago that Toyota was pretty bare knuckles, by the way. So it's kind of a shared deal. You know, I remember the phone calls at 9 o'clock at night. How many did you punch? How many RDRs? How many did you punch? How many did you report? Get some reports. And then at the end of the month, if you had to reverse them, what are you doing, bogus reports, right? That was the relationship with Toyota for a while there. So it's that you got to cultivate this relationship. It's a collaboration. It's a wonderful collaboration. And of all of the brands that I've been approved by to run their store when the dealer doesn't want to be in the location, I'm with Toyota for a very good reason. They are the most retail-minded of the manufacturers. They really give you programs that work. If you drink the Kool-Aid, you'll make more money. I told the owner when I took over the dealership, I said, we have two choices. We can be a really good dealership that sells Toyotas, or we can become a great Toyota dealership. Big difference. And I don't care what brand you represent, think about that. You can make your life easy or hard by your relationship with the brand. Now, why? Let me put an ROI in front of this. We were the first dealer in the Cincinnati region, 131 dealers, to build a service center page. The first one. We are now the dealership that beta tests all the pages. We're at the President's Award trip in Utah, and Paul Holdridge happened to be there from National, Vice President of North American Sales, right? And we were talking, and I said, well, you know, I'm building a Scion sales center page to put on my Toyota site. And I said, he said, well, that's an interesting thought. And I said, yeah, I mean, we got to get more exposure to that brand. We got to optimize that. I mean, because if you look at the visits between my Toyota site and my Scion, it's like bad, okay? But I don't want to get too much in the weeds and bore you because I can start seeing some of this, right? So let me try to keep this moving. But the relationship with them is we now beta test everything for them. That means my digital marketing company doesn't charge me for pages that they build that the region wants us to try out, new ideas. How cool is that? I love free, right? So that's an important relationship. Him and I work together very well. He was just in Michigan with the new digital marketing field rep, and he said, we didn't stop at your store. He said, because we're helping the other guys out. And I said, why are you doing that? I said, you got to give the needy, not the greedy, right? So you can also be selfish. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? Okay. Here's our old service page. Somebody recognize what that page design looks like? There's the new one. Heat map my website. Number 5 visited page, service department. How do I optimize service? I do query searches, questions. Service customers tend to ask questions. When should I change my oil? How often should I rotate my tires? Right? So we use query searches, questions to optimize the service page. Does that make sense? All the assets are there. Whatever you want, you can click through to it. Hey, this is a fun one. This should be on your specials page too. All the cool stuff you do under $20, because what is everybody predisposed to believe about a dealership service department? Too expensive. Nonsense. But you can break through that with value propositions. There's our Scion Center page. However, when you click through on this, it's deep linked to the Scion site, so I am compliant, covenant compliant. But people are going to be able to find Scions here far more often. By the way, every product I sell has a page dedicated to it now, an optimized page. That's why I have 17,000 visits and the region has 6,900. We're always optimizing our website. We're always looking at it, tweaking it, asking questions, driving more traffic. Number 2, see, most of the time it's, we need traffic, and then, we realize we need Sean. We got to do something with the leads. But it's the middle part. At about 13,000 visits, I said, man, we got to work on our conversions. That's the third leg to the stool, is the conversion stuff. That was the best thing for you. If you want to enhance your leads without increasing your budget, develop your website, work on your SEO, become more aligned with what the region's best practices are, talk to your digital marketing company, get your organic relevance, get your presence increased, and your leads will go up, and everybody will wonder, they'll think you're a genius. And then you can maybe wean yourself off of or be more selective on what third-party providers are going to do the best job for you. Just a thought. Got to control your conversions, 3.9%. By the way, the Dealer Online Marketing handles all my digital marketing, full solution. They said to me, well, we'll have your conversion rate really high. I said, yeah, but you want to count my phone calls. Vendors, you speak a different language. Let's not be separated by a common language. Okay? Your success is intrinsically connected to the dealer's success, right? I'll tell you my shepherd story in a minute. Display and retargeting do have their place, but I've pulled those budgets down because more clicks, more sales. Display and retargeting were never really for the auto business. I learned that by shopping for a leaf blower, and Granger, 30 days after I had it, kept retargeting me for a leaf blower. Relevant content becomes irrelevant after I make the purchase. Retargeting and display are terrific for Zappos if you like shoes. I'm an eBay junkie. I buy and sell on eBay. I just sold a $2,500 flatbed printer that does screening on t-shirts. How did I get it? Don't even ask, but I sold it for a profit, okay? I think my hobbies, I ought to make money. How many of you are passionate about the car business? Okay? Isn't it funny? Work's a drudgery, but we do the stuff we're passionate about for free and call it a hobby. My hobbies make money. Okay?
Mike,
yes.
here's what I'm going to do. This is freaking amazing, and I want to make sure that we open it up to, to the audience for questions. So just keep that in mind, is that I don't want to just stop, not with you, bro. I want to definitely open this up for questions to you. So just want to put that on the radar.
Who thinks I need overtime? All right. All right.
So
the clock's over.
So we're at 5 minutes till you're up. You want to give them 10 more minutes?
So,
yeah.
All right. Here you go. Here's my conversion tools. Now, I'm rethinking it because it's this mishmash of different things. But Drive It Now, which is my soft credit pull and my payment tool. Pure Cars, which is my trade analyzer, right? Do you have it? How much does it cost? What's my payment? What's my trade worth? There you go. Retarget to those 4 key indicators. Do you have it? What's it? What's my price? What's the payment? What's my trade worth? It's all right there on the auto select page. The car they want. Okay? That's what I'm retargeting. Drive It Now. That's what a lead, that's what a form submission looks like. That's what my closing ratio looks like. That's what a Pure Cars, until we get the new enhanced platform, right? The new enhanced platform from Pure Cars. Okay? That's what my closing ratio looks like. I get a Pure Cars lead, I close them 25% of the time. I get a Drive It Now soft credit pull lead, I close them 28% of the time. My ePricer, right, which is my Simply Different logo. The ePricer, Simply Different. By the way, that's been the tagline for the dealership for 17 years. And I thought, well, what does that mean? So I decided we're going to give a Simply Different promise. That's my value proposition, is my Simply Different promise. Right? So ePricer, 21%. Total leads, 20%. Car chat, 2411. Elms, 8.5%. My conversion tools equal 62% of my internet sales. My internet department does between 70 and 90 a month. We make it happen every Thursday at 3 p.m. Okay, what does that mean? On Thursday at 3 o'clock, I have a go-to meeting. At 2:30 now, I have it with dealer.com, my website provider. They also handle my Scion, because I had to pick one, right? We had to pick one. So they handle my Scion SEM, okay? So we have an agenda. We have a Google Doc that I share with Dealer Online Marketing, myself, and my gal, Evelina, who's I'm training. I'm paying her $500 every time she gets another Google certification, because I want to inspect what I expect. I want to check the checkers. I want to know where my money's going and is it doing what it's supposed to do, okay? So we do a solid commerce review. I put that first because I am a full-service virtual dealership. In the first 100 days that I went live with my solid commerce platform with only 200 part numbers posted on Amazon, I sold $45,000 worth of parts. How cool is that? Next year, I'll report back to you. My goal is $60,000 a month in additional parts sales on my virtual parts store on my solid commerce platform. They merely aggregate the parts to different virtual stores. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Okay? Beta tests that we're working on. We're working on the sales center page for the region, the finance center page, the certified used center page, with all of the Toyota assets that people want. DOM 360, that's my portal where we look at our Google Analytics, we look at our heat mapping of our website, we look at our top 5 pages, and by the way, I manage my pay-per-click. I actually manage it. I called up Dom in August. I said, I need 200 more leads. What do we got to do? We looked at our pay-per-click ads. We looked at the maximum click-throughs. We looked at where our spend was running out the fastest. And we started to learn how to raise the caps on our pay-per-clicks. And oh, by the way, we did something really radical. On thrust months with Toyota, last 3 days of the month, we might even remove the caps from our pay-per-click. Let them come, baby. Let's go. We might even remove the caps on that Prius ad for $20,999 that's also in my slideshow, that's also on television, that's also on my specials pages, and my pay-per-click ads will include the stuff I'm advertising in other media, period. You got it? 1 week out of the month, we do a scope review of the website. Broken links, pages, the 2-click test. We're looking at our website. We sync PPC with specials, with TV hooks, with the slideshows. We heat map, and we talk about our reputation management. Every Thursday, 3 to 4 o'clock, like a religion. You gotta be a partner with your digital marketing company. Companies, hold them accountable. Now, what's the bottom line? For those of you that say, I can't get budget, here's what I did. I went to my controller. I said, okay, everything in my virtual showroom, if I didn't have an internet department and I didn't have a website, what would we not spend? What are expenses directly related to that initiative? The virtual showroom pays 100%. Everything else is divided by cars sold. Every other expense is divided by the number of cars sold. And as you can see, for those of you that don't think you can make money on internet sales, I'm at 2,197 on 71 units. Total expenses, total gross, total expenses, the virtual showroom net 44,000. The brick and mortar with all those managers, all that advertising, all those salespeople, dividing all of the expenses by cars sold, generated 318,000, lower gross average, 280 expenses, net 59. I got 4 appointment setters and 5 salespeople on one side. I got 2 managers and 14 salespeople on the other side. Tell me what's the greater ROI. General managers, you want to communicate to your dealer? There you go. Now let's move the investment to where the return's the greatest. Make sense? Does that help you? Does that help? You know, I love the cost per click, cost per lead, but what's the bottom line? Right? We're just simply different. Everything organic, great relationships with the factory. We manage our leads, and I want to read a quote for you because this is important. And then I'm done. Then I'm done. I had all my bullet points, but I did this extemporaneously. Right? All right. Let me give you a quotation. It was one of my inspired moments. Okay? So it's a quote from me. You ready? I do need a serious moment. Okay? You will know the difference between getting and becoming when you defeat the fear of failure with an unshakable commitment to transform yourself. No fear here. I'm not getting this, I'm becoming it. If you only want to get it, you leave a provision for fear to stop you, to slow you down, to second guess your next move. Make mistakes. Try things that cost you money, you got to pull them back down, they didn't work. It's okay. It's really okay because it's the journey. Dealers, it's the virtual showroom. You're the Picasso. I know you built the beautiful dealership. I know it's your focal point, it's your identity, but now you've got a new canvas. Take your virtual colors out and paint it the way you want it. General managers, people that aspire to be that, I have 3 goals. Protect, be a great steward of the owner's investment. Protect the integrity of the brand, and create a business model so powerful that if I burn to the ground tomorrow, the community would miss me. Now, what else is there to manage? Okay? Internet, you are the future. You're learning how to engage the customer virtually. My gosh, we can see them before we see them. And why this is a great religion is faith pays off. Believe in what you don't see more than what you do see. Believe the customer that's not there yet that you're engaging, because they're eliminating the other guy. They're not putting him on the shopping list. They start with a big list and shrink it down. I want to be there. I want them touching my virtual showroom. And when you learn that engagement, you'll become very powerful in this industry. And by the way, don't stop thinking like a customer. Got a big dealership, Cincinnati region. Hey, we got a great idea. 29 minutes and you can buy a car. Did you time study that? We come up with these great ideas and we don't even think like the customer. So here's what I did. I called up Dom. I said, get the geeks. Gather up the geeks that build web pages so that you can optimize them. But I want to see how long it takes the geeks, the architects, to go to my buy it now, select a car, submit a credit app, submit a form, contact the dealer, and transact a deal. Let's see how the geeks do. It might change how they design the architecture. Right? So don't make outlandish claims you can't live up to either. In a virtual world, you create the expectation. In the brick and mortar, you merely fulfill it, retain it, and make a great ownership experience. Thank you.
Woo! Wow. Man, I gotta tell you, I am just blown away. And, you know, I've been friends with you for years, Mike, and I'm just honored to have you as a friend and a client and to be able to share in your success. Seriously, just one more time, that was crazy.
Thank you.
Damn. This is, okay, Bob, okay, do you have the mic?
First of all, great job.
Yeah.
Really
Sure.
appreciate you taking the time to come.
Thank you.
We put this together in Boston. I sent out multiple messages to dealer principals, general managers, internet people, sales managers, used car. I applaud you for coming, but what's the secret sauce? How do I get dealer principals and general managers and sales managers to be as passionate about what we're doing here today as you are? What's the secret sauce? What will get them to meetings so they buy into this?
Become this.
How?
Because it's what you connect your passion to your success. At 58, I've been successful. I haven't made less than six figures since 1987. The last year I sold cars I was 25 years old, selling AMCs, American Motors products, the last year they were in business, and made $52,000. I don't know. I love the business I'm in. Figure it out. Figure it out. Quit. Words are powerful. Quit saying what you don't like and start looking in the mirror in the morning when you're putting on your eyelashes or shaving. Okay? Start saying 5 things, put it on a piece of paper on the mirror. 5 things I like about my dealership. And you know what they're going to be telling you after 30 days of doing that? Then remind them all that are doing it, say, put 5 things that you love about the dealership. Change your thinking, change your life. Okay? That's best I can offer.
Bob, what I would say is this, is that we are, and this is instruction to my video team, I want to highlight reel on his whole presentation, the ending with the hands up in the air, standing ovation, and we'll give it to gift wrap to Toyota Corporate in Boston so you can turn around and give it to each and every one of the GMs and make them watch the video when they log into Toyota Dealer. We'll figure it out. But that's what they need to get juiced up. They need to see a GM running around with passion. And here's the thing I want to just share with you. You probably not even remember, because you have ADD like I do. Mm-hmm. I was at his dealership at Grand Rapids and something blew me away, and I took it, and I'm not giving you royalties, is that he said to his whole team when I was there, remember, nothing bad happens here.
Nothing bad happens here.
He had this whole philosophy. Can you just talk about that for a second? It kind of goes over what you said, but just those words you haven't said today, but your whole concept with your store.
Right.
The whole Chicken Little concept.
When I took over the dealership, they had literally 9 general managers in the last 2.5 years. You had a sales team that was there forever. And they took it was a sporting event to run, the inmates were running the asylum. And they took great glee in bus rolling the new general manager if he dared do anything they didn't like. Okay? So I came in with 7 rules of engagement. Okay? And the third one is nothing bad happens here. Our sales meetings are learning experiences. Our sales meetings are motivational. And by the way, managers, you know when they become negative? When you stop preparing them to be positive. Prepare your sales meetings. What's your sales meeting look like next week? What's the subject matter? Spiff for behavioral change. Don't spiff because you're behind your forecast. Have a little more faith than that. Right? Spiff for behavioral change. I have $5 beep and wave for demo rides. Want more demo rides? Beep and wave when you go by the tower. $5, beep and wave. Customers love it too. Beep, beep, hey! Right? Spiff for behavioral change. Nothing bad happens there. And if it does, it's in my office with the door closed, okay? And nobody knows about it, because then I forget about it. I'm happy now, right? I got it off my chest. I'm happy now. I love you again.
This is what the Internet Sales 20 Group is about. This is it. This is day 3. And we got way more to come. Again, so this whole thing about the last speakers, the crap slot, no, there is no crap slot. Everybody here, including the audience, are all rock stars. We're all here to learn together. Subi, that was a shout out for you. All right, there you go. So Subi, okay, don't worry, we're gonna wait for you, hon. So one more time, let's let this man exit the stage the right way.